Hello and welcome to Wake Up Our Faith. This is the show where passion, purpose, and dreaming big challenge common sense. We like to think of it as a conversation to shed light on the upside of upside down living. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams with you guys every week. Kevo, what's up, man?
Hey. Kevo.
We're getting you situated, ready to roll.
Yeah. Iran here.
Literally.
All the way from Curie Beach.
We need
Like 45 minutes.
We need some flock of seagulls in the background. And Iran.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Amen.
Guys, thank y'all so much for joining us. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams. We are the co-founders of Uprint, Faith and Personal Development, and we live stream every single Wednesday our show, Wake Up Our Faith. Thank you guys for tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. The show is rebroadcast every single Saturday and Sunday here on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM. Many thanks to Joe Catanacci in studio today producing the show. We're grateful for that. You can learn more about our organization by going to uprint.life. That's youprint.life. We have a number of corporate partners that make this show possible. We always want to recognize them and thank them for their partnership. And these are like family to us. And so anytime someone comes to us and we're helping them walk through or navigate their spiritual development, if they have some tangible needs, these are the folks we're going to refer them to. We've got Dr. Greg Veman of Seacoast Skin Surgery. Dr. V also has a ministry called Everlasting Strength. You can check them out on the web, everlastingstrength.org. Freeman Landscaping, southeastern North Carolina's largest family-owned land and irrigation firm since 1992. Physical Therapy Services of Wilmington, that's ptservicesofwilmington.com on the web. And also Melissa Thomas, known as Melissa the Coach online. Melissa is a speaker, personal finance coach, minimalist coach. She really just helps people begin to solve problems and simplify their life so they can step in. And we've actually been talking to Melissa a little bit about launching a portable personal finance community, so some exciting things coming down the tracks there. Melissa is offering a 15-minute free discovery call on her site for anyone who is interested to start that conversation, melissathecoach.com. So, Kev, man, today's title of the show is Think of Your Life as a Mission.
Yes.
And that's something that we've been working through with me, and it's very topical and timely. So I'm excited to dive into this today.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the issues that people deal with are the field, the game field, the dirt lot that you have to play on. The circumstances, the dark room that you're meant to light up, whatever you want to call it. So we get into a mode of depression, complaint, fear, worry, all of these things, and none of that's from God. So what the idea of giving your life a sense of mission or thinking of it that way, now you're beginning to walk by faith and see it the way God does. So we're going to start there. There's a whole lot to it, but it's really a simple idea, but it helps you remember who you are, and then launch your day, your hour, your week from that place. And then you can get into a mode where that's how you live.
Yeah.
And so the other things become peripheral rather than your mission is to complain and be depressed and act like it's over when it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what the enemy wants to do. Like you said, he wants to unseat our joy,
Yes.
unseat our authority, keep us distracted. And, it's
Right.
interesting because there's a twofold, like part of the work that we do, that you do through mentoring specifically, is helping people understand a new way to see God,
Yes.
therefore a new way to see themselves, how to get free of the strongholds and all that stuff. And this is
Right.
stuff we talk about every week.
Yeah.
But today we're talking about, okay, now start to go live it out. And,
Yes.
and you're taking all that you know, and now you've got to make a decision to carry it out.
Right.
And that's where the difficulties often come in.
Yeah. Think of it this way. Just to, I don't know why, but you remember your first day at school, in elementary school, or your first day in a new, second grade, first grade, whatever. Maybe not kindergarten. People start to really get good memories later.
Yeah.
But how you felt, and I think a lot of Christians sort of feel that way. Like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be here. I'm not talking about church. I'm talking about life.
Sure.
But I don't really know what it all means. There's a lot I don't know, but I just know that I'm supposed to be here. And they kind of get stuck in that place. Well, when you're like that, and remember the school and the environment, it's overwhelming. Where's the bathroom? Or, what?
Yeah.
Well, who is that person? Do I need to pay attention to them? They're an adult in the hall. What does
Right.
that mean? Where is the water fountain? How do I eat lunch? I remember all that. I mean, of course, my first day of school, I took off. My mom left me there, and then I said I got to go to the bathroom, and I
Went home.
hauled butt, went home because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But you know me in crowds. So the point is we get stuck kind of in an elementary version of our belief system, and it's not the beat down. It's saying, hey, you're better than that. You got a mission. God made you. There was an intention there. So let's get on with that, because that thing's already blessed.
Yeah.
And but there's a preparation, and you have to be prepared for the preparation.
Yeah.
And so that's another part of it, and I think that's part of where you have some moments. I mean, we all do, but Moses. We were talking about Moses the other day, and but Moses was prepared for 40 years, and that's longer than you've been alive.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. So that's if he's our benchmark, then
Yeah.
we all got a whole lot more prep to do.
Yeah.
But we need to be ready for that.
Well, there's an interesting dichotomy here for people who are listening to the show or kind of taking this in, is people often want to step into their mission, right?
Yeah.
Without the preparation.
That's right.
And so that's the inner work, the overcoming strongholds and really uncovering what is flowing out of your identity versus the false self, And then once someone actually steps in, what I think I'm having a more challenging time to is like re-emerging into the real world after being so removed for a while, because I stepped out of the corporate world.
Yeah.
I stepped away from all that stuff.
Right.
We're not in, kind of the traditional mechanisms of life.
Right.
I mean, I forget what day it is constantly.
Yeah.
So now to go, okay, I have to wake up and remember that I'm on mission today. I got to step back in.
Yeah.
That's been the harder part for me, I think, is like not really knowing how to re-engage.
Yeah.
Once it's like if you've been with Jesus on the mountainside.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you walk into the city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the sick man's begging you.
Yeah, well, that's right. And there's a natural ebb and flow. I mean, everything is moving. Everything's, I don't want to get too out there, but everything points to this circular, endless Hebraic, God is infinite model. It's not logical. It's not linear. It's not Greek. It's heavenly. So when you understand that, then you can live from that place. And so you don't have to understand all the depths and the science and all that stuff and the physical and the spiritual. What you do have to understand is the simple thing. If you believe there's a God, then you must believe he's smarter than you and more powerful than you. He also loves you, and he made you for a purpose. A lot of people will agree with that all day from their mind and will, but they won't agree in their heart, and there's a plethora of reasons. So the idea is to get this in your heart through the proper means, the means that Scripture gives us, and then to go from there. But you practice and practice and practice. That is not without preparation. So the preparation that knocks us around a lot is exactly what we need. It's like saying, why would I prune a rose bush? So it'll prosper.
Yes.
So when you have these moments, you have to know what to do. So yeah, it's about putting it into practice, but it's the overflow of the heart. It has to start there, because that's where you have your connection point to the Spirit, man.
Yeah.
That's where God is.
So, Kevin, we're in an interesting environment right now in the earth with all kinds of things that I probably never thought I would see. You don't think about the things that we experienced.
It's unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, we're in an incredible time, and I think you've been through a preparation season over the last 10 plus years to get you to this point where a lot of this doesn't phase you. I just know you well enough in conversations. It's just not even a part of the context. It's like your focus is completely shifted. But it's almost like this year sometimes, instead of the pruning of the rose bush, it feels like the shears came out and cut the daggum thing off. You know what I mean? And so I think trying to discern the difference between what it seems like is actually happening versus what in reality is happening.
Yes.
Is a big difference, because spiritually something is happening, but what's happening in the natural might not be as spiritual as you think, or might not be as really
Yes.
important as you think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, the enemy's very crafty. He's been at it a while, and but he's also a freaking wet noodle, and that's the way we've got to stand up to him. It doesn't mean things don't hurt. There's pain and suffering in the world, and the world's broken. So think of it this way: God redeemed us. Our job is to redeem the place, and if people don't like that, then okay, then don't.
Yeah.
Go home and do your thing. But I'm here to help. You're here to help. We're here to redeem this. Hey, listen, Jesus is coming back, right? We believe that. But we don't focus on that as our end all, because we're here right this minute to do the thing in front of us. And we know that already. But so we have work to do. That work is a part of the redemptive nature of God. The earth is groaning. You and I have been redeemed by Jesus. He did it. Now we have to follow the model of being a person that he set for us.
Yes.
And people don't understand the difference between those two things. So when we start to live this out, that means we have to become like Jesus, not just in behavior, but underneath it, from understanding our role, our sonship.
Yeah.
Our son, we're the bride. He's the bridegroom, and we're children, but we're also friends. God is our friend, so we're not a slave. And so when you look at all that stuff and you start putting it into a direction, what you see is, what is the work? Well, corporately, the church, not a building,
Yes.
but us, God's people who really believe, are here to redeem this place. So Jesus, when he comes back, he's coming back to what? A spotless bride.
Amen.
And that's us. This is our place. This is his place. So we're not here to take over, and we're here to stand up for him and redeem the place, because he'll do it through us. We're not him, but we're a part of his work here. And, people say, well, we're Jesus' hands and feet. Yes, amen. That's it. However you want to look at it, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So when you know that, then it doesn't matter what you have, what you don't have, where you go. God will give you everything if you let go of everything. But if you don't, and you hold on to that, then that becomes your God, and that's what he will leave you with, and you will have to hold on to it for dear life, and you may lose it. So part of my preparation was to get to that point. So yeah, it doesn't faze me, and it may seem callous. It's not. It's just, let's get to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it as an entrepreneur now. I don't mean in the business sense, but a spiritual entrepreneur. Let's take it back for God.
Yeah.
It's his.
Well, there's a couple of thoughts that pop up here, and I love the concept of being able, it is as sons and daughters of the living God, it is our responsibility, and it is our objective to redeem the geography and the atmosphere that we've been placed in with the gifts that he gave us.
That's right.
Period. And anything that stands in the way of that is not honoring the Father. And, and so we have to be mindful of that. Secondarily, this concept here of being on mission versus being a mission. I think there's a clear distinction here, because I think the world talks about be on mission, on mission. But one of the things that we're saying is no, be a mission. Yeah, you are literally a mission, a part of God's bigger mission. And you're attached to it. You can't separate it. I got a thing I'm working on, especially with one fella, really good dude, good friend, and I haven't presented it to him yet. So it's our next meeting, but it's a chart that shows him who you think you are, or who you thought you were, and then I've got another one that says who God sees you as, who you actually are. And it's night and day. One is like flat world and boxed up, putting your life in boxes. And the other one is completely wide open, but it's got mission underneath it. And it all starts from the right place. Now you're living from heaven, if you will, into the earth. And, it doesn't matter if it sounds weird. We need it now.
It's
Yeah.
time to get a little bit weird and get out of your daggum box and start to live this out. So these are just words, but anyway, yeah, there is a difference.
So living as a mission, your life as a mission. I think one of the things that has been a bit short-sighted, if you will, from a religious tradition is talking about the mission is to evangelize and make disciples. So the mission of kingdom living is very general, very broad,
Right.
and therefore we kind of go, wow, okay, I know that's what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know how I fit into that. So, I'm just going to go back
Right.
over here.
Yes.
What we're saying is personalize the mission within the greater mission. Of course, he wants us to evangelize and make disciples.
Right.
But how we carry that out is by becoming our specific mission
Yes.
and living out our, fingers, toes, hands, feet,
Right.
one body, many part expression.
That's right. Well, God has already personalized it when He made you. I mean, is there another you?
Mm.
And there never has been. The vacancy in history with your name on it, that matters. So, God has already made it personal. In fact, if there was only Matt Ham, then Jesus would have done what He did still. It's we sent out a text, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, but are we unwilling to live entirely by faith in a king who was crucified entirely for us or one of us?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that should get people thinking. So it's not doom and gloom, though. Get excited.
Yeah.
When you see darkness, I mean, look, think about it this way. There's so much to say here, so I'm trying to put this in some kind of order. I'll jump all over, but, here's some thoughts. Well, I'll come to this in a minute. So here's just one simple thought. An example of how you think differently, how you take back your joy. When you get down, it's real easy to keep going and to isolate and to really get into a funk. And everybody does it a little bit, but you don't have to live there. But here's how you deal with that. Just one idea. I mean, your light lives through you, all right? So what's the job of a light bulb in a dark room?
Mm.
And who wins that battle every time? Have you ever heard a light bulb complain when you turn it on? Does it complain that the room was dark when you went in there? I mean, think about that. We're better than a light bulb. Maybe that's too elementary, but it's important to grab hold of these things. This is what we're meant to do. We're meant to carry out His mission. So He made us. It's not about, I have a purpose over here. You do, or I do. But it's really God's mission. He made us to fulfill it.
Mm.
We're made for His purpose to carry it out in this moment. Billy Graham's gone. So stand on His shoulders and carry it out to the next. There's a lot of people that want to go to a pilgrimage to Reading and Bethel and all that stuff, and that's great. But we're standing on their shoulders. We got other things to do. We're in a new season, but we respect it. Go all the way back to Martin Luther, whatever, all the way back. You see change. We're here now. So if you're breathing, and then God made you to do something. So you don't get to just hang out and go for security and just hope something will happen. You have to stand up and go. I'm sure Moses looked at the burning bush, we've talked about it before, and probably said, whoa. He scratched his head after, I'm sure. Did that happen?
Uh-huh.
Was that God? What happened? But it was powerful enough for him to go, yeah, I got to do it. It goes against everything my flesh tells me. But he did it anyway. So we got to do it anyway. How do you do that? You have to know that there's purpose underneath it. So before you know your purpose, you have to know that there is one, and that it is very personal,
Yeah.
very, very distinct. It's also very corporate because it has to work together.
Yeah. The process of discovering this and then living it out, it's kind of this twofold coin, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to live it out if you haven't discovered it. And then
Right.
once you discovered it, then you've got to step into living it out.
Yeah.
And I think within the context of the show today is A, see your life as a mission, which is know
Right.
that there is this purpose to uncover. And that's that internal transformative work of overcoming strongholds and developing and
Right.
so forth. Now, once that happens and someone is interested in that, that's certainly the work we do. We've got a whole mentoring program for that. Our
Yeah.
text community all leads to that. But once someone starts to have that, one of the things that we're seeing, Kevin, is folks hesitate to step in. Folks, they pause before stepping forward, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, man, this is awesome. God made me. There's purpose. I feel like it's this. And,
Yeah.
okay. Y'all go ahead first.
Right.
So
Right.
so let's talk about that concept.
Okay. Well, I think, and keep me good here on time, but
Yeah.
What I've seen, especially doing this for a lot of years, now we're doing it more formally, but what I see over and over again, it's not everybody. It's kind of it kind of follows the pattern of the sower parable. But I see a lot of people get free of strongholds, and that's really, really important. That's because the train's going the wrong way. Train's a big, heavy deal, so you have to slow it down and stop it. So you stop it, then you point it in the other direction. Well, when you're free of strongholds, which is an entirely different, bigger concept in the show, when you're free of that, now you're ready to go, and you also have to learn how to navigate other people's strongholds, which is a whole other layer. So you got to ping around through all that until you get to a place where you feel like, okay, I'm feeling good. I got peace. People stop right there. Why? Because we teach them to dream. We teach them to dream on top of the Word, on top of Thanksgiving, and then dream. And that sets the table. That sets the context for the feast. You feast with God. You spend time with Him, and He shows it to you. So you have to know there's something to step into before He'll show you more. And it is a ratchet type thing. It's hide and go seek with God, but it's not meant to frustrate you. It's meant to draw you in. The idea that He gives us a dream, that's a beautiful gift. The other great gift is that we can't fulfill it without Him.
Yes.
It's symbiotic. It's a partnership. It is a true right relationship with God through Jesus. So He introduces us to the Father. We can live like Jesus on the earth, and the Holy Spirit carries it out through us. That's what our job is, whether it's evangelizing, teaching, anything. Discipleship absolutely requires that. So that whole process has to start with you have to decide what you believe. You can't hem-haw around with it. Or you be, if you got a lot of money, you didn't just keep stacking crap up. But it's not worth one human life. I was telling you the other day, you were talking about needing more to do, and we're in this weird space right now where I'm doing a whole lot of stuff, but we're growing into, and you're developing what you want to do. So part of it is what you really want. You have to slough off the things you don't. And that's hard to wait when you got a lot of energy. But the thing is, Matt, we have to step into it without knowing the big picture and trust that God's going to complete the picture. It's like saying you got to go into the battle. That's your job. Moses holding his arms up. I used to wonder why, and I stayed 4 hours on the couch one day. I feel like I pressed on God to tell me what that meant, and it's a long story, but what I come up with or concluded was, He said it's your job to step into the battle. I'm the one that wins it. I win it every time. You step in, I win it. So we have to believe. Well, you can't step into a battle if you're filled with fear. So getting everything turned around, moving forward, the train is there. Now, people, where they get lost is they don't want to dream. They're not used to it. They're used to having to work hard and do it themselves,
Right.
and not trust God. They won't say it, but that's what's going on in here, in the heart.
Well, we said something a couple shows ago. You said that our culture molests the childlike nature in us.
Yes.
Which was a profound statement, and I think it's just so wow. But the reality is we're, as kids, we come out dreaming.
Yes.
But somewhere we're taught, hey, don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
We say life's not fair. Be fair to people.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck? It's hypocritic back and forth, being tossed about like the waves. It's unbelief is what it is in the core. So to straighten that out, you got to be pruned a little bit, but you have to be willing. The more willing you are, the more willing God is to step in. But just like we experience, the people that come into this community and really are thriving are the ones with the willing hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different levels and layers, and people move at different paces, and that's fine. But people are afraid to dream because they think they don't understand. But it's not about you understanding. It's about you believing the one that does understand, that set the whole table anyway, and going there. It's like having a patent on a thing. Do you want a patent on a cool idea, on a cool table, or a cool invention or a widget? Or do you want one of the widgets? You know, you want the widget in your hand and to have that, or do you want the patent on it? Well, you are his patent. He made you. It's about your resourcefulness and pouring that out. You better believe he will pour into that. You won't lose anything. But if you want to live like a pond instead of a river, then you get stuck. So a lot of people, big long statement, but a lot of people get stuck on, yeah, I'm just comfortable. I feel good. I feel free. I know how to deal with my marriage and my parents and my kids now, and I'm in a good place. Okay, that's fine. But you're meant for more than that. These things are not purpose. They're blessings.
Yeah.
Fruit of your loins, fruit of your womb, they're blessings.
Yeah.
They're part of your fortress, your rest place. But you got work to do. And people need to know that. Doesn't matter whether you're a man or woman. It's the same. So, sons and daughters. So anyway, that's where they get stuck, mostly.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but a lot of people.
So from the standpoint of that, and we've got 3 minutes before we're going to break here.
All right.
And we've got a listener call, actually, after the break, too. I'm excited about this question because it ties right in here. You know, with this concept of getting unstuck, you know, some of the early language that you and I had when we were, you know, kind of formulating the concept for the work we do, it was talking about getting unstuck.
Sure.
You know, so with somebody who has started to do that work of inner transformation, right?
Yes.
What would you say is kind of a catalyst point to get unstuck? Is it dreaming?
Yeah. You have to. It's just like, let's go back to the word for a second. And there's so much here. This is why discipleship is so important, and it's not happening. We're doing it, but this is different. The word you have to learn. It's the approach to the word. It's not the word itself, the theology, all that stuff, academia. It's your approach to it. So that's learning to feel it. Second thing is really, really good quality time and thanksgiving. I'm not talking about a gratitude journal. I'm talking about deep, deep meditation and thanking God for a specific amount of time to where you cross a threshold, and then you spend time like a child dreaming with him. And we can talk through what that looks like, and I can, you know, but that's a process.
Yeah.
If you do that, it'll change your life. But most people won't do it. They'll say, yeah, I did it, sort of.
Yeah, I kind of did.
And there's a lot of that.
Yeah. You know, it reminds
That's
me.
fine.
It reminds me of the rich young man who came to Jesus, and he just said, "Hey, I've done all this. I've done all this. What else?" And Jesus says, "Go do this." And he's like, "Well, I can't do that."
Yeah.
So he missed the opportunity because he didn't make the decision that he wanted to follow Jesus with everything. Yeah. And so at some point in time, the rubber has to meet the road, and you got to make the decision.
Yeah,
that I'm going to go do this.
And you should want to, because it goes quick.
Yeah.
You know, text today was God is good, but life is fast. We don't want to waste either one by separating them or putting a line between them.
Yeah.
They're not separate. Your life belongs to Him. And if you say it doesn't, then you're toast anyway.
Right.
Or go about your business. But we're about His business.
Yeah. Amen. We got to cut it to a break here. Guys, great start to today's program. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams, Wake Up Our Faith. We're going to take a short break. Be back right after this. Hey, this is Matt Ham, co-founder of Uprint Faith and Personal Development. Join us for Wake Up Our Faith, a real conversation about living out your faith between Sundays, streaming live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Catch the replay every Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM. Stop by and visit us on the web at uprint.life.
Imagine securing a healthier future with care that helps ensure everyone has a chance to be well, and more ways to improve health and lower costs. The right partnership could help New Hanover Regional Medical Center do even more for our growing region. Imagine the possibilities. Visit nhrmcfuture.org.
Sponsored by New Hanover Regional Medical Center.
Hey, this is Matt Ham, co-founder of Uprint Faith and Personal Development. Join us for Wake Up Our Faith, a real conversation about living out your faith between Sundays, streaming live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Catch the replay every Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM. Stop by and visit us on the web at uprint.life. Hello and welcome back to Wake Up Our Faith, the show where passion, purpose, and dreaming big challenge common sense. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams with you again on a weekly show here. Appreciate the Big Talker for having us rebroadcast here on Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Hey, if you enjoyed the show, if you're listening to the show, we want to encourage you guys to call in and, have your questions answered on the air. I mean, we've got the capacity to do that. We have a call-in line. We're getting ready to take a call-in here from someone who left it. So it's a voicemail, essentially. You can call in, leave a voicemail, and we'll play it on the air.
Yeah.
So we want to invite folks to do that as a way to get plugged in. The number's 910-805-8330. That's 910-805-8330. You can also email us, info@uprint.life, info at youprint.life. Before we take the listener call in, though, I want to recognize some more of our corporate partners for helping us make the show possible. One of those being Chris Hutchins and his team at Guaranteed Rate Mortgage. If you have any needs in the mortgage business, make sure you give them a call, 910-344-0304. Also, Century 21 Swalyer & Associates, full-service real estate brokerage company here in Wilmington, family-owned and operated more than 30 years, 910-256-0021. Also, our good friend Chris Riley and the team at Cap Trust Wilmington. Cap Trust is a financial planning firm, long-term financial planning, and Chris is a great friend of ours and team member here. If you have any needs in regards to your long-term financial plan, 910-256-8882. And also the Honeycutt Group. Chad Honeycutt is a family-owned and operated insurance organization here in Wilmington, 910-338-1773 for all of your insurance needs. So, Kevin, today we're talking about thinking of your life as a mission and starting to step in and live that out. And we had a great listener call in, and I think Joe's got this queued up here. So if Joe could play that, we're going to take this question from a caller.
Hey, guys, this is Matt Forstner from Hampstead. Listen to your show quite a bit, and today I have a question for you. I tend to have, a bad day, and sometimes it leads into usually like a bad week. But how do I keep that into just a bad day, or maybe even just a bad moment, so I can keep moving forward? Thanks. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's very common, which is great because there is an answer, and it's not complicated, but it is. It's been cliched so much. So we want to be more profound, more meaningful, and authentic in the answer. The word teaches us to guard our heart, and so what does that mean? What does it mean to think with the heart? And we teach this, but the simple answer is whatever you allow into your heart. In other words, what you begin to attach feeling to becomes a part of your day, of your belief system, potentially. So if you're in traffic and you have a bad moment, it's fine. You know, I had one on the way over here trying to get here. And I went surfing early this morning, had a blast, and I felt great. Well, on the way here, I feel the enemy trying to steal my joy. So it's a bad moment getting behind a semi, and et cetera. But, you know, I know that I have to, what I do, it sounds silly, is I will draw a line on my neck and say, you're not getting in. And I choose to feel joy. Now, a lot of people don't understand, and the cleanse will really help you with this. But you have to choose it. It's not positive thinking. That's low-level, you know, self-help bookstore crap. It's trusting God, who says, count it all joy. So how do you count that moment joy? If there's nothing joyful in it, then you remember why you're doing what you're doing. Remember who you are. Remember something beautiful. It might be remembering your kids on Christmas morning, but you got to go there. So what I remembered was, hey, thank you, Lord, for having a voice. Thank you for the dolphin I saw in the water and the fish that jumped over my board. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So the quick answer, Matt, other Matt, is to cultivate a moment of deep, deep thanksgiving that you feel in your heart. You meditate on it. You think about it. And you take your joy back. When you start to feel that thing pressing in on you, then you take it back. You stand up to the enemy. You get mad if you need to. Say, this is my place because it's my Father's place. And he made me for a good work. I'm going to get on with that. So you have to get mad sometimes. You have to turn those tables over. So hopefully that answers. Well, there's a lot to it. But
yeah, that's a great picture. And Matt, certainly thanks for the call in. Anyone else who has any questions along those lines, any questions at all, we're happy to answer them on the air, 910-805-8330. You can leave a message. You can send us a message on Facebook, or you can email us, info@uprint.life. But, Kevin, I love what you said there, because it's a different mindset. You answered that question with an entirely different perspective. And this is something you told me yesterday when we were having this conversation, is you said, Matt, you have to fight for your joy.
Yes.
And, you know, it's interesting that
spiritual battle. You
know, I, for the last few years, have been doing the word thing for a year, just kind of picking a word, focusing on a word, letting the Lord speak through that. And I've seen fruit in it, and so I continue to do it. But this year, I felt like the Lord was leading me to joy. And I'm like, well, of course you would, Lord, because like everything around me right now is waging war against my joy.
Yeah.
And I feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like the thing I love to do, Kevin, more than anything in the world, is stand up in front of a group of people and speak.
Right.
And we ain't nobody meeting in public. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no speaking engagements. And so the thing I love is gone. You know, then you got the kids at home from the school thing. Your sports things, that's gone too.
Yeah.
So I have had to this year, and I've not done a good job of it because we went down this path yesterday, is what it means to fight for your joy.
Yeah. Well, you can get into a downward spiral and live there. And I tell you what, man, my wife is a genius at helping me get out of it. And I need it just like everybody else. That's why we need each other. There is a church, right?
Yes.
Just not a building. It's people. It's working together with our gifts, anointings, all that stuff. So, we have moments, and the enemy knows where the cracks are. We lift up the shield of faith in the armor. That's what it's for. We have right relationship with God built on the Word. Get into the dang Word and meditate on it. Go there. Feel it. Experience it. I was reading to a fellow the other day, a good friend and a client, and he's like, well, just show me how to do this. And I read a few verses. We put a little context. But I said, look, you got to read this to yourself, almost like you're reading to an elementary school kid. Because how would you read it to them? You would emphasize it. You would feel it. That's what changes your heart. You have to feel it. And, you know, I know people don't like emotional stuff, but you cannot engage the fruits of the Spirit without emotion. It's required. You got to start feeling your relationship with the Lord because it comes from that depth. So all that said, we have to come back to understanding that the dark room or the circumstances, they're not meant to make us spiral. If we do, like I said, I mentioned my wife, she may kick me in the butt and say, hey, man, your life is a victory. She said that to me. I get to surf every day. Anytime there's waves, I haven't missed a meal in my entire life, and there have probably been times I should have. I finally got a car after like 15 years of waiting on something that I needed, and I got. It's 9 years old, but it's something I've been wanting. So God is at work, whether we see it or not. We have to live that way. So that requires getting up, doing these practices. And that takes a little bit of willpower. But when you jump in the swimming pool, you just swim, you go. That's the organic part.
Mm-hmm.
People pendulum back and forth between all of them. But anyway, I'm going on and on.
I love this image about the dark room. And, it's interesting because one of the things I think we do as believers is complain about the darkness of the room.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
And I love that because right now, that is I think it's a travesty when you have kingdom people entering into the darkness of the world, and all they're trying to do is point out how dark it is.
Right.
Instead of just being the light,
That's right.
And that's something that I fall in the trap of. And it's interesting. So, I don't want to get off on this tangent, but this month in the Hebrew calendar is the month of Elul, which is the final month of the Hebraic year. So we're coming into the Hebrew New Year. And the Lord's just been speaking to me about his calendar and how, significant it is. But traditionally in Hebrew culture, the month of Elul is for repentance and forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And so it's a preparation for the newness that's coming, right? And so the Lord's been convicting me about how condemning I've been of the darkness, specifically the darkness within kind of those who proclaim to be believers, and kind of coming with a strong-armed kind of like, you're dark, instead of just turning over here and going, okay, I'm going to be light. And so I think it's, we have to be the first to turn and say, no, I'm not participating in that. I'm going to go be light over here.
Yeah, that's right. And that's part of turning the train around. It's the same process. You have a choice. 99.999% of the time, you have a choice. Well, what do people say? I don't know, 40% of the time. Well, I had no choice. And that's ridiculous. You have a choice all the way down to your attitude. What can you wake up? And man, if you want to look around you, all you got to do is just take a peripheral look at the world, and you'll see incredible people doing incredible things in the worst of circumstances. So, as my wife might say, buck up and put your big boy or big girl pants on and get on with it, because your life is done quickly here. And it's not about doom and gloom. It's about stewardship. And you can't steward that from a place of complaint, which is the language of hell. We all do it some, but what our pattern, our successful pattern, you go to the Psalms and read how David did this. He even said to his own soul, why are you downcast? Wake up, get on with it. And God, I know you'll do it even for your name's sake. So what we see, when you want to know what's in Scripture, people ask me all the time, well, how do you know all that stuff? It's because I've felt it. I've visited it. I've seen it like a movie. It's an epic. So, and then I'm thankful for it. Thank you for your mighty works. Thank you for your word. Thank you for Jeremiah, on and on and on. Why don't people do that? It's the greatest investment you can make, but people don't do that. They want to invest and create the physical. But the greater thing is the spiritual. If you can build that platform out, the other falls right in place because he's in it. That's a big lesson I learned. And why do I know? Because you're talking to a guy who's been rich and poor. And I'm not an idiot, and I've made my investment in him. All that craziness that I put into businesses, and I had success, it belongs to him now. And so we all have that, and we all have that genius in us very specifically to work together. But until you can begin that process of guarding your heart, then you tend to go back to what you've learned, whether it's stronghold or just a spiral. That's the enemy wins. How do you fight him? You say, in traffic, or something really difficult happens. We almost lost our granddaughter. We had a show a few weeks ago about that. Well, that was one of the hardest moments of, I would say, for my son's life and Holly, my wife, and me too. I mean, I just passed a kidney stone. So
Yeah.
that was tough. Well, it's not here to say, look at us. It's say, yeah, this is tough.
Hmm.
Your job is to overcome it, to let people see God through it. And you never see a light bulb complaining. But what good is a light in the Home Depot where there's a bunch of them on display?
Right.
You don't need another one there. The light has to go home with somebody.
Amen.
Light up a dark room. That's your job. Take it. Take the valley.
You know what I love, man, and I'm going to share something you sent me in a text yesterday because it was profound to me, and I think it's going to be profound for somebody else. Like you said, Holly, your wife, will look at you sometimes and say, hey, man, get it together and let's go.
Yeah.
You know, there's this.
I need it.
Yeah, we all do. And there's this pacificity that happens within Christianity. It's like, oh, it'll be okay. Kevin, it'll be okay. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like there's this kind of pandering thing.
Spare the rod.
Yeah.
Spare the spiritual rod.
Right.
You get a dang brat.
Well, that's to the point. This is something you texted me yesterday. And it's along these lines. It's along these lines of challenging me to fight for my joy and to see something from a different perspective. And you said, take back your joy from the enemy. Act like a son on mission or on a mission instead of a preacher's kid expecting it to come easy or to take over a big church. And man, that punched me right in my spirit and said, wow, okay, I see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between someone living as a son versus kind of being the spoiled preacher's kid just waiting to take over daddy's church.
Yeah.
And man,
boy, there's a lot of those out there.
whoo, that hit me. That hit me hard. Because it was like, man, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Doesn't mean that yesterday was easy.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday was a tough day.
Hard. It's hard to
but
grow.
But you're saying, hey, man, how are you approaching this difficulty?
Yeah.
How are you approaching this moment? How are you fighting for your joy?
Right.
And how are you remembering who you are and the mission that you have been called here to fulfill?
Yes.
And most people do not think this way. They think circumstantially,
yes,
reactive,
right,
and
They're
from
walking by sight.
Exactly.
They preach Jesus all day long, but they walk by sight 99% of the time. And then when they encounter adversity, it not only it phases them, it knocks them flat. Well, that's okay, but you got to keep getting back up. It's not on your own strength. That's the difference. You have to let go. But letting go doesn't mean become a monk and sit in a chair and pray all day. It means step into that deep relationship with God and your trust. And that's where, I wanted to just briefly touch on this because we're going to plug this into our system. I don't know the way to explain it, but to gamify it almost, where there's a journey that you can take, where everything, a schematic will. I send these things out to a few trusted people, and they're like, "Whoa, that's kind of overwhelming." So I have a tendency to do that, but I can see something here, and so just starting, we're going to help people walk through this, but then build a system around helping them continue the process with personal attention. So it's really, really going to be a radical, cool thing, but it takes time. So anyway, just remember, from root to fruit, look at it as a tree, your journey. And it starts with your belief system. You have to agree whether you believe who God is or not. And if you don't, that's okay with me because it's up to Him and you. But I want you to come on in. But anyway, you have to start with what you believe. You have to feel that and make that statement from your heart. The mouth speaks, comes from the heart. That's why we have to, so this is your life story. Now, if that's not written by God, then it's written in
disappearing ink.
And 100 years from now, no one will be speaking your name. Okay, that's fine. But if you want to leave a legacy, a spiritual legacy eternally, then this is the way to do it. So the outer man is the written word. This is where people have to start. So, what I'm talking about is, think of it this way. This is the reason the word is important. It deals with the outer man. It helps you turn back toward God and focus on Him. So that's learning to walk by faith. It's a different thing than being led by the Spirit. You have to learn how to walk by faith before you can be led by the Spirit. They work together, the rear guard, et cetera,
Yes.
going before you. So walking by faith is learning to see God the way He wants to be seen, to understand His intention. And you have to live by it. It takes practice, but you don't practice it by hard work. You practice it by making the investment in Him. He's made an investment in us. So, then you can learn to be led by the Spirit. And that is learning to see yourself the way He sees you. And that's your why. These two things have to be the roots and the trunk of the tree. And without it, you're going to keep spinning around. How do I know that? Because I've lived it. I'm 54 years old. And, there's people a lot older than me that I would definitely listen to, but I've seen it. I've seen so much. I've lived 2 lifetimes, and I'm telling you, this is the answer. And I've staked my life and my family on it, everything. So all I'm saying is, we're not telling you to do something that we're not doing ourselves. We're leading, and sometimes it's lonely because people don't quite get it. But the ones that do are going to thrive, especially the way the world has become.
Well, the thing that's happening in the world right now is anything else you try to trust in cannot stand.
That's right.
So that's why this root to fruit thing matters, because if you don't have proper roots during this storm season, the tree is coming down, period.
Yeah.
And so that's
right.
why you can only fully function from a place of living by faith led by the Spirit, because it's all that works.
Yeah.
Because
That's right.
everything else is being modified, changed, shaken. We were talking about this the other night, this Hebrews 12 shaking. So that which is eternal will stand.
Yeah.
What is eternal? Living by faith, led by the Spirit.
Yeah.
That will stand.
And see, that goes right up through God's will now is leading the whole process, and that goes up through the heart. Now God's working through you, through your heart. Now you've got the child, the bride, and the friend. Now you got output. That comes out your hands. That comes through your mind. So your mind and will submit to that instead of leading the way. You don't want your will to be captain of your ship. You want God's will to be captain, but you want your heart to be leading that process from His Spirit in your spirit. The only way that can work is to engage the Word, the outer man, the physical Word, as if it were food. Take it into your inmost parts. Feel it, see it, engage it. It's an epic. Just sit there. Obedience begins with rest, not stress, not labor, but sitting, just like Mary at Jesus' feet, and listen. And God will open your ears, give you eyes to see and ears to hear, and then you will begin to follow. When you step in and start to follow Him, baby steps, one moment, one little thing, go call this person, help that person. It starts to unfold. Why? Because He has a mission, and it's got your name on it. And that's how it works. People ask me, how did you do this? How did you get from here to there? This is how. It was yielding and learning and listening. It wasn't hard work. The hard work is laboring to enter His rest. It's counterproductive in the world, but not with God.
One of the, again, early ideas we talked about is the concept of alignment. And that's where it's almost like God's truth is God's truth, and it is always there.
Yeah.
It's always working.
Doesn't change.
You can't stop it.
That's right.
And it's like the revolutions of God's truth and His economy and His kingdom are happening.
Yeah.
And you can wage war against that way of life by trying and striving and stressing and working hard and all that.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's unfulfilled because it is an unyielded life. So the process of the Christian life is to become in alignment with what God is already doing and has already done.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing here, is teaching people how to yield, how to surrender, to get into that alignment.
Right.
But then it's like it takes you into not productivity, but fruit-bearing mode, because that's what He desires.
Yeah, it's you have to step into, what do you believe? And you have to be convicted of that. And if you're not, then that's troubling. but you get a choice here. You have to learn to walk by faith. That means get up. If you need to get up earlier, then get up earlier. Put your devotionals aside and get in the Word. If you do it on your phone, that's fine too. I like the Word itself because I can touch it. I can draw on it, underline it. Whatever works for you, you got to get it into your heart. That means you got to feel it. You got to see it like a movie. You got to go there and assimilate it into your heart. It's not a quick thing you do between the shower and your coffee. And then you start to hear from God, and He'll tell you things, and you go, whoa, that really? And then you engage that. It all has to work together. Without the written word, you can really get off track here. So you have to do this right. But what happens is you begin to understand the corporate value of who God is in your life and who you are to Him. And from there, then you become the Rembrandt with the brush strokes. And there's a one of a kind. So then you become Christ-centered, working from heaven into the earth instead of hanging out on earth begging for Him to bless something you're doing.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But it's walking by sight instead of faith. That's what happens. We just want to teach people this. Well, lead the way by doing it. So, yeah, it's a big deal, but it should be an adventure. It's exciting. It's not meant to be some kind of drudgery, or either is it some kind of Tony Robbins stuff.
Well,
it's just truth.
I'm excited about the development of the journey construct and being able to take people through this kind of adventure of discovery, of becoming free and understanding and how to step into this whole mission concept. Because right now what you and I know is that people are primed and ready and hungry for this. This whole season, man, it has been like,
you're made to crave it.
Oh, absolutely. And this season, I think, has forced that. It's almost forced a hunger to come forth.
Right.
And so we're saying, man, that's a great thing, because the hungry people are the ones who are going to get to sit at the table and feast.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and the greatest thing you can do is give who you are to somebody else. And when you do that, you're being the friend. It's coming from God the Father. You are a son, made like Jesus. He's the son, but we are His siblings. And He teaches us this. He is also our big brother. He's God. He's our Redeemer and all that. He's also our model of how to live life. And until we grab hold of that, separate our will and desires, go after the desires of our heart, which are the markers of who we are, but let go of the how and the how long, we'll keep toiling away. We'll run a marathon sideways. And I did it for years. This is the truth, and it's all built on the absolute truth of Scripture. So, but throw all that outside in terms of the hard, nature of, I must get up and do these chores. It's about developing your hunger for God, being in right relationship, and as soon as you step in, oh my gosh, He will flood your heart with more and more and more. So a lot of the tediousness becomes an overarching way of life. A mode is what I've called it, or we call it. So a lot of people are going after, I got a word from God today. I heard from Him, and I'm like, well, I never stop hearing from Him, and I'm not saying it. I'm saying that's for you too. But you want to live from that place. You don't need to beg. He's not looking for beggars. He's looking for family, for believers.
Yeah.
Your children don't have to beg you to eat. You don't have to beg Him for anything. Get on with what He's doing, and it'll satisfy your soul. 3 markers of fruit: honors His name, helps people, especially the way you're gifted, and it satisfies your soul. Most people leave one of those things out. So there's a whole lot. I know I go on, but there's so much here. We're willing to give it to you, or you can help us out. You can donate. However you want to do it. There's no obstacles.
Yeah. Well, guys, dive in. We're here. Fantastic, Kev. Thanks for pouring out. Guys, youprint.life, youprint.life. Get plugged into the Portable Faith community. Learn more about the mentoring model. Kevin Adams, Matt Ham. We'll be back next week for Wake Up Our Faith. You guys have a good one.